Today on Locked On Red Wings, we make Carter Mazur suffer through 30 minutes of our dumb questions.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a former broadcast producer for 97.1 The Ticket, where Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today we are very happy to be welcoming on Carter Mazur, Red Wings prospect, current player with the Grand Rapids Griffins, to our show to answer questions for the next 30 minutes. And Carter, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. How has your summer been going? How's your offseason been going so far, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys for having me on. It was nice talking to you before, getting to know you guys a little bit. But the offseason was pretty well. It's been, how long since we lost? 4 weeks, so not that long ago. But I've been going at it for the last 2 weeks, and it's been pretty good. I've been up in Detroit living the dream, so I can't complain.
That's awesome. I do want to thank everybody who's taken the time to tune in, for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. And with all that being said, Scotty, why don't we dive right into just pestering him with questions for 30 minutes? What do you got for Carter here?
Well, honestly, we talked about it a little bit, like you said before we hit record here, and you were talking about being up here in Detroit and whatnot. Just in general, how's that been going so far? How is it being with a lot of the guys, and what are you working on?
Yeah, so I was here last year for a little bit and the year before, so it's a lot different now having a 20-minute drive instead of hour 15 drive every morning. So I get to sleep in a little bit more, which has been pretty nice. But it's just same hockey stuff. It's working out, training, getting stronger, being on the ice every day. It's just wanting to become the best player you can possibly, especially in the summer. It's the time when you really have to hit it hard, and especially I feel where I'm at, I feel like I'm in a good spot, and I feel like if a big summer, it can change a lot for me.
You know, and that's something, too, that I wanted to ask you, because this was your first full season as a professional hockey player with Grand Rapids, and you put up really impressive numbers. And, you know, watching you, not that in my opinion matters, but I was personally really impressed with your game. I was curious what you thought, like, what are the areas you felt you most improved? And then in this offseason, like, what are the areas you're looking to further improve?
Yeah, for sure. I think I improved every part of my game. It's something that I really value. I feel like I'm a guy that can play in anywhere in a lineup, and I feel like I kind of felt that confidence. In Grand Rapids, I started off top 6, and then I fell off during the middle of the year, was playing fourth line for a couple games, and I realized that I can play anywhere, and it was just something like a confidence booster. I don't know what game I can really say that switched, but I feel like having that confidence in myself that I am a good AHL player, but I want to be an NHL player. That's kind of the goal in mind. So I need to be a really good AHL player to get to the NHL. And then once I get to the NHL, I feel like I'm the type of guy that wants to be around. I don't want to be a call-up. I want to be a guy that plays in the NHL for a long time and stays there. And especially with Detroit, it's an organization I grew up watching, and it's just something special to me, and that just makes it even more makes me want to put even more work in to get to that goal.
Well, that's a question we were going to talk to you about as well. You know, being somebody who grew up in the area and looked up and saw the Wings so much, what was that like when you realized you were going to be a part of this organization, and what is that kind of mindset like?
Yeah, it happened really fast. It feels like I got drafted yesterday, but that day was pretty special. I had all my family with me. I had no clue where I was going to go. And then to see my name pop up by Detroit, it's just like, I have no words for that. It's something that I've always dreamed about, getting drafted, let alone to my hometown team. It's pretty special. A lot comes with it. I got a lot of good people in Jackson that support me and people around the area that support me too. So that's nice. But it's work now. It's a job now. So it is a lot different, but it's just been a joy so far.
Well, and you mentioned it's a job now, but like I feel like, and I've played hockey my entire life, low levels. I'm not very good at it, but if I were in your shoes, like I feel like I'd still have those moments every once in a while where you kind of like take that step back and you're like, oh my God, like this is for real. This is my job now. And, you know, I don't know if you listened to any of what Eiserman said at the pre-draft presser the other day or even at last year's end of season media availability, but you're a name that Eiserman has brought up unprompted a few times when talking about the future of the organization. Is there a part of you that when like you hear Eiserman talking about you in like a positive light that you're like, holy crap, like Steve Eiserman knows who I am? Like, is there still that little kid inside you that goes, this is real?
Yeah, there's for sure the little kid inside of me. Like, I just think about like showing up to the rink every day and I'm seeing like Dan Cleary, like Chris Draper, Cronwall, like these guys that I grew up watching and loving. It's something weird, but like now they're kind of, I work for them in a way, but it's still like, it's still pretty special. Like I grew up watching them my whole life, and now to like kind of be a part of it and see what they've gone through, and now to finally go through that myself, it's pretty awesome. And like, especially growing up in Little Caesars, my coach was actually Chris Draper, so I knew him pretty well before. So now that now it's a lot different kind of feeling around him for sure, but it's still kind of nice to have him in my back pocket to know that I'm able to reach out to him. But to hear like Steve Eiserman talk about me too that's pretty special. He's someone who's done a lot in hockey, and I've followed probably everything he's done, so it's pretty awesome.
Well, when talking about, you had mentioned a little bit earlier on the ice, you know, your ability where you want to play, when you feel like you can play anywhere in a lineup. I think one of the reasons why Eiserman has brought you up so much lately and why the fan base has kind of turned their attention towards you is because of your play style on the ice. And I just want you to talk a little bit about that. Just talk about what your mindset is while you are out there, what you're trying to accomplish, and if there was a part in your development like journey that made you kind of play more this way, or was it kind of just always how you've approached the game of hockey?
Yeah, thinking back to that last question, first thing that pops in mind is my first year of junior hockey in Tri-City. I wasn't the biggest player. It was the year before COVID. I was probably 5'10", 155, and switching from AAA hockey to junior hockey was a massive jump because now you're playing 20-year-olds instead of your own age group. And that year was probably the hardest year of hockey in my life. I think I had 13 points, fourth line, out of the lineup, got scratched the home opener. And it kind of made me realize that maybe my game isn't going to be just straight skill like in AAA when you can do anything practically. So and then COVID happened, and then I think COVID was the best thing for me personally, even though it sucked, but it was probably the best thing for me in my hockey career because I got to go home. I got to focus on things that I need to do, such as gain weight. I came back the next year and I was 6 foot now. I was 6 foot, probably 175. So I gained 20 pounds, and I just felt completely different on the ice. I felt more confident in my game. And then that year I learned how to play fourth line PK, and then switching back to the year 2, now I'm power play, now I'm PK, now I'm doing all the roles. So I feel like that year was very beneficial for me to kind of go through that and have kind of adversity to my game and kind of learn more things about hockey. And then I think to like this year getting hurt at training camp, that was another time that was kind of sucked. It was the worst thing to ever happen. I thought I had a chance to make the team, but I think everything happens for a reason. And I feel like that was kind of a wake-up call to me that I need to learn how to treat my body better, prepare my body better for situations, because in the NHL you're playing 82 games and you have to be ready for that grueling schedule, and watching the playoffs, seeing how strong those guys are. It's a different game for sure. So I think those two moments are probably the biggest ones that kind of stick out to me the most.
I know you watched and this is just it's not really a question, it's more of just a note. I know you watched the Game 7 of Stanley Cup Final on Monday night, because this will be Wednesday's episode, so it'll be 2 days ago by the time people are listening. Yeah. And there's a photo that came out of Lomberg in the locker room afterwards holding the Stanley Cup. And I understand what you mean when you're like, holy crap, these guys are strong, because Lomberg is like absolutely jacked. And it's just like, you realize these players are like in the peak of their shape, but then you see these photos come out and you're like, oh my God, like there's a long way to go before like you get to that peak. And I'm sure Lomberg's a little bit of an outlier. Like, not every NHL player looks like that, but it was like, holy crap, like that's insane. Nobody's in the NHL looking like a NFL punter.
Yeah, unless you're Alex Ovechkin and can score 40 goals. But
right.
Yeah, that is something that I've learned is kind of just taking care of your body and getting your body to where it needs to be. That's your body's, not to say your moneymaker, but it really is. Like if you're hurt, you're not going to get your contracts. You're not going to get all that. So you need to keep track of that and just make sure your body's right.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Tri-City Storm, and after there you went to the University of Denver, and I want to ask you about the reason why you chose Denver and your tenure there as well, because you won a championship there. Yep. But before we can get to that, I got to get to a quick break. We'll talk about that in segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. It's called a tease, Scott.
That's a pro tease right there.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. We're joined by Carter Mazur, third-round draft pick by the Detroit Red Wings back in 2021. Currently plays with the Grand Rapids Griffins. And my next question for you, Carter, as I teased going into the break, is about your tenure at University of Denver. And the first question is, you grew up in Michigan. You're a big Red Wings fan. And out of your junior career with Tri-City, you decided to go to Denver. And I just was that one of the best option you were given? Like, I'm a little surprised that somebody who's homegrown wouldn't go to one of the many good collegiate hockey programs in Michigan. What went into your decision to go to Denver, which, by the way, is an elite program in its own right? But I'm just
they're
curious.
Not bad.
Yeah, they're not bad.
10 national championships, not to brag or anything, but I'll do the short story. So I was committed to Michigan State I committed there when I was in 9th grade, 8th grade. So I was committed there for a while. And first year of juniors, I was like, okay. Second year, I got drafted. And then I kind of thought that, like, Michigan State wasn't heading in the right direction at the time that I saw myself going. And then I also thought about it as I want to play hockey for the rest of my life. I feel like if I go to Michigan State, I know a bunch of people. My brother goes there. Like, what really am I going to do? Am I going to focus on hockey or am I going to do outside things? So that's kind of another thing that went into that. And going through the recruiting process again was kind of a lot easier the second time around because I kind of knew what I was looking for. But Denver wasn't even in my top 3. And I had my top 3 kind of boiled down. And my old assistant coach, Craig Rail from Little Caesars, actually played at Denver quite a while ago. Can't really tell you when, but he reached out to me and he said, what do you think about going to Denver? And I was like, I have my top 3. Like, I don't really know. And then he's like, just let him talk to you. And I was like, okay. So because of COVID, it was a Zoom call. We did a Zoom call with David Carl, all the coaches, Matt Shaw. And once I got off that Zoom call, I called my dad and said, I want to go to Denver. It was probably the easiest decision of my life. Like, getting off of that Zoom call, I just felt really at home. I felt like they really wanted me there, and I felt wanted. And that's kind of the best thing you want, especially when you're getting recruited as a college hockey player. You want to feel wanted, and I really felt wanted there. And as soon as I hung up that phone call or Zoom call, I called my dad, like I said, and 2 days later I committed to him. It was the easiest decision of my life, and it brought me a lot of good friends, brought me a national championship, and I just can't thank them enough for the 2 years. I thought I'd be there for, but luckily enough, they transformed me into a 2-year player, which I'm very thankful for.
Well, you mentioned the transformation of you as a player. What do you think on the ice your biggest takeaways or the biggest things maybe you learned while you were at Denver were?
Yeah, I would say my kind of pissing people off and being a dick on the ice was probably the biggest thing I've learned at Denver. I have a full cage, so it's a lot different now for sure. I couldn't really drop the mitts and fight in college, but I felt like that was like the game, like part of the game that I kind of brought out the most in Denver. I felt like you only play 36 games, so you got to give it your all for sure. Like even you're playing 72 games in NHL, you got to give it your all. But 36 games, that's a lot less games, and every game matters. We learned that early in the season. My freshman year, I think we started off like 1-5 or something horrible, and then we went on like a 25 game win streak or something. It was pretty crazy, but I think that would probably be the biggest thing I learned, honestly.
Have you said, and it makes sense, in college you have the cage, can't really drop your gloves, although sometimes that doesn't stop players. But the AHL I know has some pretty strict rules about fighting still, but once you get to the NHL level, like that's something you can do. Is that something that you've been taught? Is anybody teaching you how to fight? Like I'm really curious because this is an idea that a question that just popped into my head. I know the NHL is kind of steering away from fighting a lot more these days, but it's still part of the game. Is there somebody dedicated to like teaching players how to fight, especially someone like you who has like an aggressive forecheck in the corner style?
Yeah, I wouldn't say teaching you fighting. I think it's more so how to protect yourself. Like, because like if it happens, it happens. I feel like most of us are ready to go at any time, and especially in the moment. I don't really know. I can't really say I fought anyone last year, so. But I feel like they get us prepared for that. I feel like there's especially always one guy on the team that can teach you about how to fight. And this year we had Dominic Shine and Wyatt Newpower. Like they know how to fight. Like it's you can go and ask them. Like so it's pretty simple. But I feel like it is kind of moving out of the game. But like you still have to be ready to fight. Like people are going to do it, and I feel like that is something that's getting out of hockey. So I feel like that's something that I could bring to Detroit lineup. I'm not saying I'm going to fight every night, but it's something that like if I need to, like I will. Like if it puts me in the lineup, it doesn't matter.
You're not going to pull a Matt Rempe and just fight every single game.
I'm about 6'9", 220, so I don't think I can be doing that.
Well, you had mentioned a couple of names there in GR. I guess that was one of my questions too, was who in this great season for the Griffins did you get either players like around your age that you got close with or players that are maybe older that helped teach you a lot of things? Who were some of the impactful either players or coaches or whatnot that you played with this year?
Yeah, Dan Watson was unbelievable. I'll start with him. He was an unbelievable coach, especially first year. I know you could be probably a little nervous, but knowing me, I'm nervous too. It's my rookie year. So it was pretty easy to get to know him as a person and even as a coach. He's a really easy coach to play for, and you know what he wants. And that's what you want as a player, is to know what you want from your coach. And going to players, all the young guys were pretty close. Marco was close with Marco. Kosa lived with Lombardi. So it was a good year. Like those guys are all awesome human beings. Getting to know Simon, getting to know Bergie. He's a different character for sure. Getting to know them. Yeah, they're pretty awesome guys. We had a special group, and thinking of people who I really learned stuff from, I would say Zarnik. He's the guy who played a lot of NHL games, gets called up, called down, but he's a guy he's a pro hockey player. He knows how to play the right way, and he was just the best line mate I could possibly have playing with him, because he could teach me a lot and show me a lot for sure.
I know that we've kind of steered back to talking about Grand Rapids, but I wanted to take a step back and go back to Denver because we didn't really touch too much on the fact that you won a national championship there. I believe it was Minnesota State in the championship game. But before that, you played probably one of the most stacked University of Michigan teams ever. And you guys were both 1 seeds. They're both incredible teams, but Owen Power, Luke Hughes, Kent Johnson, Matty Beniers, like all those guys are on that roster. What was that like to win that down to the wire 3-2 game and then go on to win the whole thing? Like those 2 games had to have been the most intense of your career, at least until you made it to the Calder Cup playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Those games were pretty awesome, especially in Boston. It was a pretty awesome atmosphere, and I think the Michigan game was pretty special too because I don't know what kind of fans you guys are, but I hate Michigan, so I'll say that right now. But I'm not a big Michigan guy, and to beat them was probably my national championship in a way. I feel like that team was stacked. They had every player. They had the team to do it, but we knew we had the better team for sure. We had the team that had more older guys and more heart. I felt like most of those guys wanted to just get out of there and get to the NHL, while most of us wanted to win. So, and then Minnesota State, I felt like we honestly should have lost that game. It was 1-0. I think we had 8 shots on net heading into the third period. Like, oh God, like what situation is going on here? Like, we're not the team that we usually are. And then our 5th-year Ryan Barrow scored the first goal to open the period, and we're like, oh well, we're back in it now. It's 1-1, and then the floodgates just opened, and then it was awesome. That was a fun time, fun to relive it for sure, and fun to hoist that trophy at the end of the day.
Two very different tones when talking about your two opponents there. Two very different opinions of opponent for sure.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Throw Scotty under the bus. He's a huge Michigan fan, so.
Hey, no, I'm not saying.
No, I'm Walmart though, so it's fine. Like I don't have affiliation. You're good.
You know, that's so funny too, because I'm sure you heard some of it. I know you were in Denver at the time, but you're from Michigan. Like, people in Michigan in the college hockey sphere just kept talking about how it was like that was the Michigan team of destiny. Yeah. Like, they had to win. And so when I'm watching it and I see they lose in semifinals, and again, like, that Denver team was just as stacked. Like, that University of Denver program does such a good job of every year just being one of the best in the nation. But like, people in Michigan didn't think that way. They're just like, they need a cakewalk through it. So then to be, even though they were 1 seed, a lot of Michigan fans felt stunned that they lost. I just really wanted to get how you feel on that. But knowing that you were a Michigan State commit originally earlier on in the episode, I was like, I think I know where he's going to feel about this. We got to do another quick break. When we return, we'll finish up whatever questions we have hockey related. Maybe just ask some, like, what's your favorite video game type stuff. So stay tuned for that in segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about GameTime. GameTime is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. GameTime makes taking the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets so much easier. And they help you save 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more with their last-minute deals. Zone deals also allow you to save more when you choose a section and let GameTime choose the seats. And those flash deals as well. So many different deals to choose from. Save you even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats of the game or the event. And of course, there's that GameTime lowest price guarantee where they credit you 110% of the difference if you find your seats somewhere else for less. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Carter Mazur is with us, and I believe, Scotty, you're up next. What do you got for Carter?
Well, I want to start looking and talking to you about the future a little bit, just because you had mentioned how big of a year this past year was for you, how important this summer is going to be. What are some things that you are looking to, I guess, accomplish this upcoming season, whether that's on the ice, like specific part of your games that you want to improve on, or more big picture stuff? Just kind of what kind of year are you looking to have this fall?
Yeah, the biggest thing in the summer is gaining weight for me. I feel like we've talked about that already, but NHL players are big boys, and I need to play a big boy game of hockey. I feel like that could add a lot to the Red Wings and where they want to be and where they want to get to. I feel like, especially watching the playoffs, you see how they play, and you see players like Draisaitl not even have a single point in the Stanley Cup final, and it's pretty crazy to me. But it's the guys who really just run people over, like a Tkachuk. They're fun players to watch in the playoffs, and that's when the games matter the most. And I would say my big picture for the upcoming season is to make Detroit. I want to be a part of the team, but if worst comes to worst and I'm back in Grand Rapids, I want to be the guy in Grand Rapids. I want to be a guy who can score at a point per game as well as play penalty kill, power, like all that. I just want to take my game to the next level. I know I can. I feel like I've been in situations to where I can take my game to the next level. It's just a matter of putting my mind and getting my body right to do that.
How much does that continuity between the teams matter too? Because like with the University of Denver, you played with Tuomisto and Shai Buim. At Grand Rapids, you and Tuomisto went together. I know Shai joined late in the year. I think he only played one game with Grand Rapids at the time. And then like this year coming up, you, Berggren, even and Casper probably are looking to make a serious push to make the team. How much does that continuity in the locker room really help that transition from level to level?
Yeah, I feel like it helps a lot. You get to know the guy before you're even there. So it's pretty awesome to like heading back to training camp and I'm going to know practically every single guy now. So it kind of makes you feel more comfortable in the situations that you're put in. And now that I kind of understand how Detroit plays, how Grand Rapids plays, it's going to be a lot easier to kind of go into the locker room and know what the coaches expect out of you. And that's a huge thing. And I feel like, especially with those guys, they push you every single day as well. They're trying to reach the same goal that I'm trying to reach. So it's pretty easy to go out there every single day and practice and push each other to reach that goal. And then even when we get to that goal, hopefully push each other even more.
If let's look ahead again and talk about this fall. If there's going to be a lot of conversation surrounding your name with the NHL roster, and that's obviously awesome, right? Like that's a great thing, and that's super exciting for not only the fan base but for you as well. If there was anything that you would want to, I guess, tell or not pitch. I'm not asking you to like sell yourself. But like if there's anything you want to tell the fan base maybe about what type of player they're going to look at if and when you are in the NHL this upcoming season, what would that be?
Yeah, I would see myself as, again, how I talked before, a guy who could play anywhere up the lineup, can play power play, penalty kill. That's kind of how I see myself. And no matter where I get put, I feel like I'm going to strive. I feel like that's how I am as a player. I have that confidence in myself to be able to be a part of a team that does something special. I want to get Detroit back to the playoffs. That's always been a goal of mine ever since I got drafted, is thinking of ways of how I can be a part of this team to give them a playoff push or get into the playoffs and give the fans something to be excited about more than getting excited about having a top 6 draft pick. I feel like people want to watch a team that wins in playoffs and a team that gets to the playoffs. I know it's really hard nowadays in the NHL, but I feel like Detroit has all the building blocks to get to that sooner or later. You got Dylan Larkin, you got Raymond, you got Seider about to be locked in for a while. And it's just, I feel like a great time in Detroit sports, especially with the Lions and just all the young talent that is coming into the Detroit sport area. So it's just a really exciting time, and I look forward to maybe being a part of that.
Now, hockey is your life. It's your job and it's your love. It's everything. But outside of hockey, when you finally take a break from lifting weights and trying to add muscle, what do you do to unwind? What do you do to relax? Do you TV watch? Do you play video games? Do you play board games? Still, there's people out there that do that. Or do you read a physical book? Those people still exist too.
Yeah, I'm a sporty guy. I'm a big golfer. Golf's by far the easiest thing that I can do, especially getting done with training at 1:00. It's easy to go out to a golf course at 2:00 when people aren't out there. So golf's probably the biggest thing I do. And then
What'd you shoot? Last time you went, what'd you shoot?
I shot a 78.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well, someone's joining the PGA Tour after his career's over.
Yeah, maybe the Corn Ferry, not the PGA. We'll think about that. No, golf's awesome. I played it in high school. I played it ever since. So that's probably like the biggest thing I do. I really put my time and effort into that too, because I love how it is. It's kind of a mental sport. It kind of prepares you for a lot of things, because you don't want to get pissed off at a shot that you hit bad when you can hit a good shot. Like, that's why I love golf. It's something new every single day.
I literally picked up golf last month, and for the first time ever, like I wasn't keeping score because I was so bad. I'm like, it's not worth it. For the first time ever, I kept score like 2 weeks ago. I shot a 140. So there's a long way to go.
For a month in, yeah, you'll get down. You'll get down.
Just hitting the balls
that's
are
only double of Carter's score. Yeah, it's not bad.
I was shooting like 12 a hole. It was bad.
I want to ask. So I also host the Locked On Tiger show, and one of the things that I ask a lot of players that what. Why'd you look at me like that?
Nothing. I was being stupid. Continue your question.
Oh, okay. Like what? I do. That's my Okay. And one of the questions that I ask, when we have like minor league players or prospects on, that players love to talk about is their favorite like restaurants or places to go out in the city that they are in. So I want to throw that question to you as well. What are some of your favorite places to go to in Grand Rapids? What are some of the places that you and the guys really like to go to?
In Grand Rapids, Lombardi was a good chef, so we wouldn't go out that much. He would always be cooking. So
nice.
But I would say in Grand Rapids,
cool.
There's so many spots. That's the problem about Grand Rapids. I feel like there's so many areas you can go eat that like sometimes the quality is not the best because there's so many options. But I would say the best spot that I usually would go to, I would say Social House was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That's especially right across from the rink, or the Bistro. It's right across from the rink as well. I think everyone would go there for pregame meal. They had unbelievable chicken sandwiches. Yeah, I would say the Bistro.
How often did you frequent Hopcat? Because that's right there.
Hopcat, we didn't go to that much, but
probably not approved.
Yeah, my mom and dad would go there a lot,
nice.
Or the Social House. So
it's the best. It's a great spot, but it's probably intentional. What if now I want you to 5-star ranking Chef Lombardi. I'm curious on how good of a chef we have in the system right now.
Yeah, he's top notch. He knows what he's doing in the kitchen. He's a little Italian boy. He knows what he's got it all dialed in, and he's good at what he does. So I'd put him at probably like a 4.5. We'll give him up there.
That's not bad. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And so my final question for you, Carter, is this is a personal one. Tonight on Tuesday as we record this, and tomorrow on Wednesday, I have 2 men's league playoff games. How much money would I have to pay you to wear my jersey and bring us the championship?
Honestly, free. I would do that. That'd be so funny.
Let's go. All right. Well,
they're going to look around and be like, wow, Brian got a hair transplant. I think would be the first thing that everybody would say.
I'll shave my head. We'll make sure.
Go really commit.
Yeah, I used to play with my dad's men's league, and it was awesome. It was so funny.
And it's D2. I have 2 goals on the season because I'm defensive defenseman. I have no offensive talent, so people will be really shocked when all of a sudden I start lighting up the score sheet.
Got a lockdown. We'll just try to get a shutout.
There you go. Yeah, the blue line all of a sudden has this really skilled forward just kind of bursting and playing quarterback. That's going to be a wild revelation to a lot of people.
I love that. And so now for Locked On listeners who have been listening to us for a while, I have now gotten Carter Mazur and Oscar Sundquist to agree to play men's league hockey with me. So when you all retire in 20 years and I'm in my 50s or 40s, whatever it is, my men's league team is about to be the best around. So I'm really looking forward to this.
You won't even have to the ice. You'll be all right.
They're trying to find ways for him to not touch the ice, so if that can happen sooner rather than later, then
works out perfectly.
All right, Scotty, do you have anything left for Carter? Or should we unleash him to the wilderness?
Man, really.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a good time for sure.
This is a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Carter. For Locked On listeners, we are aware of the trade that has broken while we record this.
While we were recording.
Yeah. The Red Wings trade Andrew Gibson to Nashville for a 2nd-round pick and a player. We will break that down on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Red Wings. Stay tuned for that. And again, thank you so much, Carter. We look forward to hopefully seeing you in a Red Wings winged wheel next season.
Yeah, we'll be
And,
talking about you plenty come fall. So
I'll show you my best for sure.
good. Just for us. It's
right.
That's the
Yeah,
only
not
reason.
not for anybody else. Just for Brian and I's sake. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Scotty, you got to
We
say the
ball,
word.
man. Thank you
We
again.
ball. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.